Hello, my name is Patrick Ogaz, and this is my project on California counties and COVID-19, a descriptive analysis. So first off, let's meet the team. It's myself, the student. This is my senior capstone project for the Cal Honors College. And I'd like to thank my mentor, Dr. Rita Kumar, for assisting me through this process. As far as research motivation, with COVID-19 being pretty much the talk of the town for the last year, I wanted to better understand what happened. And the best way to do that was to basically do a quick and dirty examination of COVID-19 and their deaths by county and cases by county, and to really visualize how they did and performed regionally. I also wanted to cross-examine the differences in health and socioeconomics that might have been able to play a role in a COVID-19 results. As far as methodology, I use data sources from ca.gov for the open data portal. I use 500 cities, which is from the CDC, and American Community Survey, which is from the US Census Bureau. As far as data analysis, I used sources or resources Excel and Tableau. As far as data types or data sources, most of the data I wanted is to really understand what happened as it happened. And so I put an emphasis on time series data, which range from March 18th, 2020 through March 9th, 2021, and then some demographic information to see perhaps if there was any correlation between maybe average age, gender, obesity scores, diabetes scores, Gini coefficient, etc. So you can see some key data types below. A lot of them are time series. As I mentioned, I emphasized that in this project. As far as data analysis, I used Excel to mostly combine a lot of different CSV files together. I took medians because I couldn't impute a lot of the data and had really no interest in doing that. So I took medians rather than averages on a lot of my data. I used Tableau to visualize just about everything, mostly because it is really good with time series data. I also used some linear regression through some scatter plots for demographics to kind of see if there was any correlations or possibly any trends. And then I published this Tableau story to Tableau Public. As far as my research findings, I had a lot, so I'm just going to synthesize some quick points. So what about like if we wanted to know cases to population ranks? So as March 9th, 2021, we see that these counties are all ranked from 1 to 58 counties, 1 being the highest or probably the worst performing, and lowest being the best performing. So as far as the worst performing, we have Lassen County, which has a 16% positive case to population, whereas Lassen County is about 1.6%. Even though they're right next to each other, they have very, very different performances. As far as if we wanted to know some information like deaths to population and a ratio, we ranked all of these 1 through 58, again, 1 being the worst performing and 58 being the best, as of the 9th of 2021, March 9th. And as what we can see is Imperial did the worst with a relatively high compared to Sierra, which actually got 57 because it tied with another county that got 0, but it had twice the population. So I would consider Sierra the better performer. As far as notable counties, I think Imperial is definitely one that we should look more into and see what happened. As far as cases, it was the top 2 as far as total positive cases to population rank, and it was number 1 in deaths to population, which means Imperial didn't perform terribly well. But if you look at how deaths and positive cases interact with each other, so how many people that got COVID-19 died from it, Imperial wasn't the top county. It was actually Inyo County, which was an interesting fact that was very interesting to me. As far as some basic demographic information, we're just going to go through a couple. For example, gender. So we see that males were a little bit less likely to get COVID-19. However, they were considerably more likely to die from it compared to females. As far as age, we see that the CDC reports on how COVID-19 affected age is pretty accurate within California. Specifically, 18 through 64-year-olds definitely got a majority of the cases, I would say. However, when it comes to deaths, it's almost predominantly 65 and older, which means that they're the most vulnerable population. As far as vaccines, some interesting information that I found was that weekends were really where we found a huge dip in the amount of vaccines administered. And we see that Sundays and Saturdays aren't as popular. And we probably attribute that to fewer sites being open on weekends. As far as some interesting observations, I'm not going to go into that much detail, but these were some demographic information that we were able to review, and we found that there was some interesting trends that we were not expecting to see, and there's a lot more if you go to my Tableau. So thank you for sitting through this. As I went through this very quickly, if you want to explore my Tableau, I highly suggest going to my Tableau website, which is linked here or in the QR code, to really understand all my observations. But it was very, very interesting, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.